here, moving towards the end of the split. So let's take a look. Should be standard bans. Standard for CLG when you're against them.
Gotta put that asterisk.
We would expect, something like Zach or something to come out here. Maybe the Kalista even. As far as teams have really been pushing that priority on that champion, even up almost to the level of Caitlyn, because of the ridiculous mid-game spike that Kalista has, because of the ridiculous objective control and playmaking ability. She's really risen up the ranks, but there are the classic tanks that we're looking for. We'll see if they throw any more curveballs. Maybe Thresh or the random support bans have come in as well.
And after the buffs to Maokai, just in general, he's been banned a lot now too. There's that Kalista you were talking about, so nothing really too crazy out of the ordinary, as long as you consider CLG.
Exactly.
Showing up in the ban so far.
Mandatory Aurelion Soul ban. They did not forget. And it looks like we are going to have some Lyra priority. The classic Elise. People were getting super hyped up on tanks, and rightfully so. Cinderhulk extremely powerful right now, but it really does still feel like Elise, especially if you want to get an early game team composition going, is the queen of the jungle at the moment. So much more playmaking early on from her than those tank junglers, even though the tanks will scale up quite nicely for team fights.
And although Envy has fixed it a bit this split, they were a team last split that was known for the early game, and then it was the mid game where things sort of started to fall apart for them. So not surprised to see them go for that early pick, especially in the guy that makes so much happen for them. Counter Logic Gaming going to respond, picking up Gragas for themselves and also locking in the Triss.
Yeah, CLG have long had a high priority on the Gragas. Darshan feels very comfortable on the champion, as well as the obvious swap that you can make him into the jungle. So flexible first round for them. Meanwhile, Tristana, one of Stixxay's kind of main champions there, building towards the crits, getting those resets later on in the game, and CLG kind of drafting into that team play style.
Well, EnVyUs decide to answer it with their own AD carry, grabbing the Varus for themselves after they were thinking on the Galio there for a minute, but that's a champion that, although he was really, really popular and really, really meta for a while, has since sort of fallen off a cliff. So it looks like Envy just instead opting to go into both bottom laners, picking up the Braum, more CC to go with what they've already got on the team.
That's definitely the key here with Envy's last couple of lock-ins. Huge amounts of crowd control from the bottom lane, so that opens up their top and mid picks actually to be just very, possible high DPS, possible tank frontline there, depending on what Seraph wants to roll with. Meanwhile, we get some roaming from Huhi. Aurelion Soul is banned out, but Kalista, pretty good at it herself.
Yep, going to be able to see the Talia picked up there, so you can have that mid lane pick before the second round of bans come in, so you don't have the pool pinched any further. Interesting choice, because it does open you up to counter picks, but...
Yeah, the reason that we see so frequently, actually, now, your third pick here on the red side being a mid laner is because we slot right into the next ban phase, so you still... get 2 more bans to throw at the mid lane. You basically take 1 away, then add 2 more bans on there, and don't feel too bad about counter picks against Talia anyway, because kind of the best ones are basically assassins for just lane, looking for kills and looking for pressure. But those really don't translate well in competitive and especially in these types of scenarios. Talia right now is just an extremely robust mid laner. Very reliable damage as well as the utility coming out of those walls.
And there you go. 2 of the champions that could do potentially very well into her that are not assassins, banned away. Well, I still have... Syndra's kind of like an assassin. Press 1 button, you kill the guy, but it's not an assassin class-wise. Exactly. Meanwhile, supports banned out by Team Envy, taking both Lulu and Janna off the table, so those can't be picked into the Braum, give them a hard time in lane.
Interesting, too, because we have seen a resurgence of Alistar. And I just kind of want to go over this real quickly, just in case there's a possibility of Aphromoo actually picking it up, because this was one of the big champions for him. He's been a long-time Alistar player. He has a lot of playmaking abilities, and it's nice for CLG when he is on the front line. It's not going to be the case this time around, and he just does go with the Morgana for the Black Shield, for all the crowd control they're facing. But I will keep cautioning against that for enemy teams of CLG, because I really do think, especially with the recent round of buffs, that Alistar, is definitely back and will be here to stay.
Well, Envy going to pick up something that can never be back because she never really leaves. Orianna, a competitive staple since the beginning of time and probably going to be there till the end of it too. locked in there for Niski in the mid lane, and now they've got one more to pick. Their top lane still left to be locked in. Counterlogic Gaming will get the opportunity to counterpick this one if they pick anything too wild. So usually going to see something relatively safe. And the Jarvan,
bit of a front line. Also works really well with the Orianna. There's the Shockwave delivery combo where Jarvan can just jump in Cataclysm, get everybody nice and grouped up for the good AoE. But it is a lot more about team fighting there. And CLG, mainly with this Taliyah pick, do have a lot of options for splitting up the map, roaming around early, and now that they've got the Camille for a split push pressure, it's exactly what you want when you have this type of composition. Have Darshan split pushing with the Camille, try and get some pressure, draw the team apart, so you can then use the Taliyah wall, go cut people off, corner them, and isolate some kills for yourself. So we'll see, can EnVy actually stick together and pull off that team fight and those combinations?
I like seeing this top lane matchup because I remember when Camille was first released and she was hilariously busted, people talked about her ulti just saying Camille's ult is like Jarvan ult except it works. Because people could always tumble out of Jarvan walls or jump over Jarvan walls.
Camille can get out of it easy.
No, you're not getting out of anything. Camille just traps you in there. But now, of course, they've got different strengths, different weaknesses. We've seen so much of Jarvan recently, too, after the changes to the Golden Aegis, and also just the fact that his laning lets him lane against carries and tanks alike. You can shred their armor. You can just do really strong burst damage to him. The champion is versatile.
It is versatile, but Camille, as you said, is one of those champions that can just jump right out of his ultimate, and he cannot do the same to hers. We'll see if Darshan actually gets any attention up there early on, because we have seen many a Camille recently after her buffs, get out of control. The mid-game spike, everyone always loves to talk about Trinity Force, plus your Tiamat, and then it starts to get a little bit risky.
And you and I, yesterday, watching those Echo Fox versus Phoenix 1 games, we got to see Brandini on the Camille have some crazy ultis, trap high-value targets. If Darshan can have performances like that, then he can definitely be a power player in this series, as CLG wants to make sure that they stay neck and neck with TSM, grab a win here. EnVy wants to climb further up those standings, cement themselves as a true threat and a real contender in the playoffs. So lots on the line here for both these teams going into this best of 3. As we break out of the summoning platform, everybody heads out onto the Rift. You can see CLG grouped up while EnVy fans out.
Interesting. Maybe we'll have actual level 1 play. Just looking for the Morgana bindings in case anybody walks a little close, it looks like.
They don't get spotted out. They will sneak into that brush.
There's a chance they can actually rush Lyra, and he's a little bit slow walking away.
Keep those fingers crossed.
You need Afro to go first. Get Stixay out of the way. He's blocking.
Oh my God. Body slammed over the wall? Yeah, he body slammed over the wall to make sure.
All right, when they're going to go for it?
They can catch Lyra out here.
They're going for it.
Lyra's going to see that. Fire back up. Ooh, flash for flash. Instant reaction there from Lyra, but Darshan with his own flash, cutting off the spider. Afromu needs that binding, gets him anyway. That's first blood for CLG.
Oh my goodness, that is definitely the way that they want to start this game off. The only way it could have been better is if, oh my God, didn't take the kill and Stixay actually with that rocket jump in was able to get it. Now they're going for a little bit of harassment on Seraph too. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, that is going to stick a little bit. And every little bit does count in this matchup. Camille can definitely have a good time up there as long as, there's no repercussions from the jungler. But yeah, as you were saying, oh my God, body slams up to the top. They're doing this blind, but this is one of the highest chances of the enemy, sitting early level 1 is in that brush. And since Darshan here on Camille has that mobility, easy for him to answer there with his own flash and get the stun to set up Afromu's binding. That was close to being dodged, by the way. And Lyra kind of walked back into it on his second stutter step.
That's a hell of a fan vote, Kobe. CLG fans out in force today, 85%. Think that they're walking away with the win. And I mean, after the first blood play, that's kind of supporting their claim there. Can't get too carried away with 1 kill, but it's a good omen for CLG.
Definitely is. Money definitely talks, and that's what you're going to get with first blood. So Omar God has got more in his pockets. Bottom lane, though, good harassment here from Apollo. Ooh. Actually just destroying Stixay.
So much damage, and procs the Winter's Bite on that very last hit. So Stixay is going to be sent home if he's not careful.
Around, but he's definitely got to be careful.
He'll get that Warlord's Bloodlust to proc up a little bit of healing, but I mean, level 1, you're not getting gigantic multi-100 HP heals from that thing like you see later on in the team fights as the game gets towards its ending. So Stixxay really has to respect what these two can do. The Braum potential lining up that winner's bite.
Lyra wants to take advantage. Darshan used his flash to get the first blood on him, so he's going to revisit.
Dodges away from the cocoon, instead getting the stun back onto Lyra, who has to repel to keep himself alive, but Lyra will instead donate double buffs over to Darshan, who's going to find the 1 versus 2 outplay if Seraph isn't careful. Good Lord, man.
Where's Huhi at? Yeah, Huhi. Oh, now he gets the idea.
Huhi's like, okay, hey, bud, catch you later.
Flashes to go take it. I would have given that to Darshan because, as we said before,
it.
Yeah. Plus, back to this team composition, the Camille. The quicker you can get her to that Trinity Force and then Tiamat, the quicker she absolutely takes over the game. We've seen already the mobility on display, and that is biggest strength here for Camille. You know, she has dueling power, but huge mobility. So if she gets fed, it's really hard to deal with it. Cocoon, a little wide there. Darshan lands the stun onto the low health jungler here, and then punishes Lyra for coming back. Seraph does not hit the EQ, doesn't get the knockup, doesn't get the damage, has to flash over the wall. And then Darshan's been yelling here at Huhi, or maybe he wasn't telling him and he wanted to kill for himself. Maybe that's why.
That's
it's
true.
a little bit slow of a roam up.
Always could have had that, but
Like, nothing's going on here. I got it. I got it.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Either way, what a fantastic start for CLG. Lyra getting caught out at level 1 and then trying to get himself back into the game, trying to slow down Darshan's snowball and instead only packing more snow into it, making life very, very rough, not just for himself, but also for Seraph, who's now got to contend with that 102 Camille, who just bought his Sheen before 5 minutes.
That is rough. I mean, he basically, as you said, packed more snow into the snowball and then handed it to Darshan, and Darshan smashed him in the face with it.
He's like, here, hit my top
with
laner.
another one.
Hit my top laner. Here's a freebie.
Now he's off to the Sheen. So Sheen, reason why this is one of the biggest early spikes for Camille and why, Darshan with the early money is going to rush into this item is that your second activation of your precision protocol, your Q on Camille, the true damage part, actually converts the Sheen damage into true damage as well.
So dirty.
So exactly. Very, very dirty. Lyra wants more though. He's back to the top.
He's not letting this go. He is
Definitely
vengeful.
angry. I have to say, it was both intelligent by CLG and also fortunate that they were able to get Lyra in the pixel brush and focus down Lyra early on in the game, because as we said, Lyra has been the driving force for Team Envy really in the early game at least, and getting him off his normal game plan and off to a very rocky start here is basically the best thing you could possibly do versus this team.
And it's not just getting rid of Envy's win condition, it's shoring up some of your own weaknesses as well, talking about how the team really wants to get Omar God up to speed and make sure that they're facilitating him as much as they can. Taking Lyra out of the picture allows Omar God that breathing room, saying, okay, he's not going to be counter jungling you, he's not going to be in your face, he's really far behind. You can play your game without having to worry about the Lyra creeping around in the shadows, getting all up in you, trying to figure out how you can avoid that.
Creepy spider crawling
Yeah,
around.
spooky spider skittering all over the place.
Oh man, look at this, what this does to the top lane too. Seraph cannot get up to the minions. Even though he has that pink ward, he has to worry about the ridiculous range that Camille, can close right there. It's the jump off the wall into the ultimate here now that they're level 6 means that he can't even be in experience range. He's so far back because roaming from mid lane, he's coming up, and they are just denying this Jarvan a tremendous amount.
Ward placed down in the top side of his jungle, so Seraph knows that they might try some sort of multi-man dive after seeing the enemy mid laner disappear. So they'll catch out Omar God walking around there if he sticks around any longer. But now Omar has made his way towards the mid lane. Niski still doing a good job staying dead even here with Huhi in terms of farm. But Envy's already down 1,500 gold 7 minutes into the game because of those 3 kills they dropped early, Kobe. And with Infernal Drake being the first one on the table, if CLG can continue to make these early game plays, they could get ahead really, really rapidly.
Yeah, it's definitely looking rough for Envy already. They should be able to try and stabilize here and keep calm. Lyra actually has gone for mobility boots even on the Elise, which we don't actually often see when you're behind like that. Very rarely does an Elise get killed twice pre like 5 minutes and then rush into mobility boots, but he's kind of going all in on this. I am going to get back into this game. It's all or nothing, and we'll have to see if he's able to get into place for any big plays here to try and right the ship, because you are incredibly squishy. Do not have combat stats here with this purchase. It's all about trying to make plays to get yourself out of this deficit now, and he's definitely investing in that possibility. Still aiming at top side. He's going there once again.
All right,
do it.
Darshan trying to jump himself away. The Cataclysm interrupts it. They will blow the flash for that one. Nice timing.
Definitely good ult there by Seraph, trapping Darshan and forcing his flash, but they are unable to get the kill, so we'll see if that flash really matters. In exchange for the gank on top side, CLG starting up this Infernal Drake, even with the wards here.
Darshan not actually getting back on the top side, though. Instead, keeping Seraph there, healing back up, forcing him away, maintaining lane dominance. Huhi with the ulti in the bottom lane. Hakuo knocked up into the air. Black Shield down to Omar as he face tanked everything there in the front. More damage coming through, and Hakuo is casualty number 4. A nice catch from Omar. Will throw Apollo right back into CLG's waiting arms. The whiff on the shockwave, thanks to the flashes, as now Niski finds himself the target. The repel up in as Lyra grabs one revenge kill. Seraph now closing the gap, making the flank into the back lines, but rooted up. The TP also coming in, a double kill from Lyra, but Darshan has made his way into the mix now. Seraph gets taken down.
Afro binding.
More and more with the fighting. Constantly these teams trying to make something happen out of this.
Well, they're going to chase him back up the river here. Darshan wants Lyra again, but Niski's there for a shield, maybe?
So close, but a nice dodge away as Darshan gets the kill onto the spider, and Niski finds himself now cut off. Hakuo has respawned, working his way towards this fight. Aframu taken down by Niski. Hakuo jumping in, looking to keep Niski safe. The stun on Darshan. He might just find himself outplayed here. A double kill for the EnVy mid laner.
Oh, it's getting bloody here down in the bottom side of the map, and in the end, it's actually not that bad for Team EnVy. Let's take a look at how it all started out. Because it could have gone a lot worse. CLG get the 4-man collapse here onto the bottom lane. Omar holds on to his ultimate on Gragas, knowing he's against Braum, knowing that Braum just putting up the Unbreakable would just block his ultimate, so he saves it there and they get the kill onto Apollo. It's looking great for them here until Omar with the re-engage, and they see Seraph on this ward. So everybody else from CLG backs off, but Omar, low health down there, has to stay in and goes down. Then Darshan is able to teleport in, but that's already been 2 kills picked up for Team EnVy here. So even though they answer, the early people died so early on that already Braum and Varus here are running back out onto the field, as you can see on the mini-map. So Darshan chases down the extra kill here onto Lyra, takes him a little bit further away, and his ultimate actually, really nice dodge right there. But the key, Braum does finally join. He died so early that he's able to get here and make sure that Niski doesn't die to Darshan in the end, and it's only that extra kill. So all in all, not too bad for Team EnVy. They did delay the dragon. It looks like CLG is still going to return to that area though, and they actually could pick it up, even though they don't have vision on Lyra. They have plenty of wards around the back of the Drake.
4 for 4 in that
they do have
huge, bloody, drawn-out fight. And CLG getting the Drake here could be a nice payoff for themselves in the early game. Grabbing that extra power, going to make them stronger in team fights. Going to make Darshan a lot scarier, especially as that damage-heavy top laner, working on that Trinity Force that he's really close to getting. 800 gold away from being able to complete that one. As Lyra counter-jungles a little bit here. Has the pieces, at least, of the completed Runic Echoes there in the jungle, but still behind. The double kill doing work to get him back into the game, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely feeling good about the chaos, basically, that happened. Because if you stood in standard lanes and they kept on going as planned, it would have been even worse. In the end, though, CLG do pick up that Infernal Drake, so they've got some extra scaling there in their pockets. And Darshan is still a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seraph did get 1 assist down there, and the team got a bit of gold out of it, but it's still a little bit scary for him because Darshan is going to be very close to his Trinity Force here.
I like the fact that Seraph went for the early Ninja Tabby. He's trying to play it defensively, just trying to say, okay, I can run away from him, I can defend against his attacks. He's not trying to be the hero in the top lane going up against someone who's fed like that. But at the same time, if you look at the score lines, who he's just as fed as Darshan is. 2-1 and 3 on the Taliyah. Went ahead and rushed Mercury Treads before anything else. So taking a defensive stance against that CC for himself. But the gank in mid lane from Darshan wants to go for Niski. Gets the ulti down so he can't run away. The seismic shove back and the cast from Omar God seals his fate.
They don't even let the shockwave complete, and CLG trying to push for the first turret bonus gold as well after it. They have Tristana, bottom lane is rotated up, and it's an instant objective after that kill. Now that is team coordination.
That's exactly what you want to see from one of these teams contending to be the best in the North American LCS. Not just setting up the kills, but having a concrete plan about why they're doing it, getting those objectives after.
Seraph is going to be able to answer here for the turret on top side, but the first turret bonus gold is not going to be able to be made up. That's definitely something they're good for. Envy, though, they definitely need to try and get those consolation prizes after each one of the plays. Lear's starting off the Riftail. It's pretty easy for Elise. You can turn him around really nicely with your Spiderlings. And it basically just takes time to kill him. Not really much threat of the damage.
Pings coming out at a few different points on the map from both teams here, but it looks like Lyra's not going to be stopped as he continues this Rift Herald with the help of Seraph. And they will put that one on Lyra with those mobility boots. Means he can get to whichever lane they think it's most appropriate to drop that in here in the next 4 minutes.
9 times out of 10, that's going to be mid lane. Let's take another look here, though, at the gank. Darshan sets it all up with the stun. That means that it's very easy to land Seismic Shove for Hugi. Stun target, skill shots are easy to hit, and that's an instant kill.
Niski, no way to try to outplay that one. Like we talked about a little bit earlier when we were joking about the Camille and Jarvan ultis. Camille ulti, there is no way out unless you knock Camille out of her own ult somehow. Makes it very, very difficult.
Or you make her run away.
Yeah. Make her run away, knock her out of it, somehow prevent her from staying in that hexagon. It's the only way to get yourself out. But when she's ahead like she is, it's really, really hard to put her in a spot that's disadvantageous enough where retreat is the only option.
Yep, and there you go. The Darshan Trinity Force is done before Boots even picked up. 15-minute Trinity Force completion for himself. That does wonders for his trading there on the top side. Even though he doesn't have a turret, he does have decent defensive vision. And we keep on just raving about the mobility of Camille. And it can be used both offensively and defensively here.
I think that Seraph's got to be careful for. With half HP and very little mana to work with, he could lose his own top lane turret very soon. Definitely need to keep an eye on that for Team Envy.
And Lyra's making his way up there. He's doing two things here. Yes, you do want to kind of prevent the dive just in a 1v1 scenario, but he's got to assume with a Taliyah on the enemy team and not too much vision coverage, there's definitely a possibility of CLG trying to make plays up onto that weakened top side. You know, low health turrets can also be used as traps, as bait sometimes. Because you know that they're definitely going to want to continue to pressure their area of power. Lyra's actually making a very long route up to the top side, goes all the way through the jungle, all the way around behind Darshan, and he's looking for vengeance.
Let's see if they can pull off the 2 versus 1 this time. Up into the air he goes, but Huhi coming in. The cavalry has arrived on the wall. Darshan firing off the ulti now back onto Seraph. CLG finds the kill.
Lyra really wants to pay him back for the early game, but every single time he goes up there, it just gets turned around, and each consecutive play that backfires up there just adds more fuel to the fire, more money into this Camille. And Darshan now level 11, a very fearsome force. CLG starting to take turrets as well. Bottom side goes down. Rift Herald also going to be killed pretty quickly. Lyra used that one because it was, you know, the duration was running out. You don't want to let him go to waste. So that at least they got the charge off and got some damage on mid-turret for themselves.
And the worst part about this is every time Lyra goes up there and causes that trouble in top lane, it's not him who's hurting once the play goes awry. It's Seraph who's hurting. Seraph's the one who now has to deal with a fed and then more fed and then most fed Camille. And eventually it's going to get to the point where he gets run over, and we're already seeing Lyra not being able to help him. Darshan isn't going to take a lot of time to take down these turrets. So if Seraph is constantly forced away from them, Darshan is just going to have a field day up here, and CLG is just going to have that much easier of a time doing whatever they want over the course of the rest of the map, because so many resources.
What turret is gone already?
That's a good point. That turret's already out of there. Tier 2, the next problem, as Darshan will now be able to move through the top part of the enemy jungle much easier, throw down some wards if he wants to, look to make rotations, picks, catches, any of those good words that we want to use to describe CLG trying to get EnVy out of the picture faster. Omar God swoops in with his big old belly and steals away that red buff from Lyra's Spider.
Such a graceful swoop.
It really is. For such a big guy, Gragas, he knows how to move.
Definitely does. Aframu looking for some bindings here. Steal away 10 gold, but not going to be able to get it. Darshan is going to be able to steal away more than 10. No, he's not. Niski
Lash
arrives for the shield plus Seraph's flash burn. And these are exactly what you were talking about. All those, nice words or whatever you were listing off. That's top lane pressure for you. He 2v1s, he gets a summoner, he draws pressure so that nobody even has a chance of going to look at the Drake that CLG pick up.
And now CLG have put themselves into the mid lane. They're saying, okay, we've got so much pressure topside. Let's go ahead and complement that with threats elsewhere on the map. They push up towards that tier 2, take about half the HP off, and now everybody else is joining the Darshan party.
Where's my invite? 6A on the Tristana be able to... Oh my goodness, that's just too much. They wall and 5 people able to instantly burn down this turret. CLG here continuing to snowball quite nicely. 19 minutes into the game, worked up a very nice gold lead for themselves. And just to add more insult to injury here, another Infernal Drake is coming up. The best snowballing Drakes here. So they've got to feel pretty good about that one. Apollo trying to answer back here on the opposite side of the map, get some more money for EnVy, and keep him in this game. And it's really nice for him to get solo gold on the local gold for that turret as well. Seraph, though.
Oh, no. Kicking a guy when he's down like that. Omar and Afro and Stixay, the whole Rude crew just takes Seraph down.
Rude crew.
The whole Rude crew.
The Rude boys coming to town in the top lane. Darshan, though, by himself now. He's set up shop on the other side, and he's going to start splish pushing all the way down to the bottom. As you get, past 20 minutes here when Baron spawns, you want to transition your pressure down to the bottom side because it's furthest away from Baron. That's how you can best pull the enemy team apart. As we said before, you want to use these Talia walls, split up the team. And Darshan very confident at the moment. He's actually going for a Titanic upgrade to the Tiamat rather than the Lifesteal. Lifesteal for Ravenous is a little bit better if you are hard committing to a split push and you're going to stay one-on-one and you want to get your healing back up off the minion wave. But if you are going to have a little bit more flexibility for team fighting, you always want that baseline of HP, and that Titanic is going to give that to you as well. It's not like Camille isn't able to heal up off of her other sources. It's just a little bit less without the Ravenous.
And it's so hard for EnVy to try to stay even in objectives against CLG too, considering they've got no map control, they can't contest Drakes, and it's very difficult to go turret for turret against a team that can just wall you off of your own turrets like we've seen CLG do a couple of times this game, and say, okay, we're going to take this. If you want to fight it, you have to flash over it or something.
Yeah, so we got to play hard mode here and look at it from EnVy's perspective to see where the comeback comes from, They do have the crowd control from the bottom lane and the combo of Jarvan, Orianna that we talked about. Now, this is going to have to be used in combination with some surprise tactics, right? Control wards in your own jungle brush so you can, get some fog of war to work with, and then maybe you can pick someone off from CLG, but they actually get caught in their own jungle, and now they're walled off.
EnVy stuck in a really bad spot between the wall and a rock in a hard place, and Haku is going to be stunned up, but Aframu the first one to drop. Stixay jumping away, and EnVy turned that aggro around.
They get the last laugh here. Aframu does go down, and CLG a little bit stunned after that one. Darshan's right back to his old game, though. Taking down the turret. Trinity Force, Prox doing decent work there. EnVy very happy about that kill, though. They need any gold that they can get, and it looked like they were in a very bad spot. Niski had to use both summoners to get out of that, so they may still pay for that later, but they're happy to get the gold off of Aframu at the least.
And that's something you always want to see, is when somebody does barely get out of a situation and they have to blow both summoners, you want to see the other team make a plan to do something against that particular player while those summoners are still down. That's what's on CLG now, is that responsibility to say, Niski has no summoner spells, how can we make this fight work out for us? And it's EnVy's responsibility to say, let's avoid that.
Definitely true, doing their best so far. Lyra actually walks into Stixxay.
Whoa, so much damage coming out from that Tristana as Omar God comes around from the side. Hawkwo providing some peel, but that spider's not getting away.
The patience here from Omar, you know, with these ultimates on Gragas here, he's saving them until he's, you know, fairly sure that the enemy has no more escapes. Has been able to nail the last few. Darshan already used the combo right there, so gets locked in with the turret.
Meanwhile, Huhi grabs the kill on the Niski.
Ask and ye shall receive, Captain Flowers. They wanted to punish the Orianna, no summoners. They found him out in the middle of the map. Didn't even have to see what happened. You can fill in the blanks there.
Yeah, pretty much pieced that one together just based on the details as Darshan takes down the tier 2 in bottom lane, while the rest of CLG moves their way onto Baron. They realize they've got the threat across the map, they've got the enemy mid laner dead, and there should be no real contest for this objective, as EnVyUs just not even acting like they're going to try.
CLG looking pretty good here. They've kept the pace of this game, you know, very quick, continually pressuring objectives, continually splitting up the team, looking for picks, and finding them. Here's a recap. Niski was out in the middle of the map, gets a good double shockwave, but it doesn't matter as you know, Aphromoo landing that binding makes it again super easy to land your seismic shove, you know, bound target, and he's able to finish him off. It got a little scary there for Aphromoo, down to like what?
He's squished.
100 health or so.
Not exactly a tanky Morgana when all you've got is Eye of the Oasis and Ardent Sensor. However, those items are really, really good and really, really cost efficient. So he's still able to contribute a lot to his team, and his team is in a fantastic position right now in this game. 7,000 gold up, 3-0 and 3 on that Tristana with all 3 big core items done.
Yeah, it says a lot about an item where even if Aphromoo only has, you know, one shield, a single target shield on a decent cooldown there in Black Shield, and Ardent Sensor is still the rush item. It's just that good for scaling AD carries. You mentioned Tristana's triple item power spike right now for Stixxay. He's also going to have the added, you know, benefit of Ardent Sensor Black Shield on him, which absolutely makes it a ridiculous, almost late game Tristana at 25 minutes. He's got double Infernal Drakes and all these extra buffs here. He is looking pretty scary.
I mean, you remember 2 minutes ago when Lyra walked up into his own jungle and ate, what, 4 auto attacks and an E from the Trist and almost got killed instantly from that? And Stixxay's only scarier now compared to what he was then. Walking up this bottom lane, here comes the Weaver's Wall yet again, zoning Envy away so they cannot defend as Seraph finds himself stuck in the Hextech ultimatum and brought down. Hawkwo barely backing away alive from this one as CLG looks to take down inhibitor number 1, only 25 minutes in. They're playing it safe, though. Don't want to overextend themselves. They're allowing Darshan time to provide a threat on the top part of the base as well.
Yeah, definitely threat. You could say that. Threat level right now is high.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Black Shield
nice
there.
Black Shield.
Dodges or nullifies the shockwave, and they're able to finish off that inhibitor. Inhibitor number 2 should be pretty trivial. Envy, it's 4v5. They're tremendously, you know, outgunned here, outmatched. But gotta go for some kind of miraculous play.
And there you go, inhibitor number 2 gone, inhibitor number 3 now the target, but all 5 Envy members are alive.
All right, Seraph only has kind of one option here. They can't afford to give them all up.
Omar God going in with the flash into the body slam, getting the cast back onto a couple. A rampage for Stixxay as Seraph falls instantaneously. All 3 inhibs gone. They had 3 up at 24 minutes, 3 down at 26. CLG wants to finish this game fast, and it looks like nothing's going to be stopping them today. Huhi grabbing the kill onto Apollo as Hawkwo finds himself caught out, nearly brought down. That volley from Talia, not able to finish the job just yet. But the Nexus turrets are falling. Niski's blocked off, flashes over the wall to get back into his own fountain, but a nice shove on Lyra back over it to take him down for the 5th time this game, and CLG.
Red Rover sent Lyra over!
And they win the game 26 minutes in with that shove and with that Nexus explosion. What a convincing win from CLG. I mean, honestly, they never stopped.
Exactly. So when oftentimes we see early game, you know, come out with, you know, first bloods before minions and stuff like that, and it translates into a pretty bad first couple of minutes for one team, we'll be like, okay, that's one thing, but how does this team, you know, keep up the pressure? How do they use this early benefit to actually end the game early? CLG through the mid game, continually pressing those objectives, continually splitting there with Darshan, finding the 1v2 outplays, finding the 1v1 outplays, and they actually kept up the pace of this game really well. So even considering the very fortunate start that they had, you can definitely say super well played by CLG in this opening game.
And it seemed like Lyra got so frustrated with that opening gambit.
I would too.
His returns to top lane over and over that just didn't work out, and Darshan stayed cool. You saw the great timing on his hook shots, being able to get around like that, navigate those skill shots, and outplay his opponents, and Lyra just could never get his footing back.
Yeah, Lyra couldn't get any sort of early game pressure back, and when Elise has that happen, it makes it super hard for the team overall to come back, especially since he still went Moby boots, to try and make plays. But Darshan gank mid lane, and then you've got a Talia also roaming around. There's just too many moving parts at that point.
CLG's team worked fantastically from ahead, but for more on that victory, let's send it down to Dash and Mark.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. CLG coming up on top of EnVy for game 1 of this series, and it's all about that jungle matchup. Captain Flowers hit the point there. It feels like Lyra was, in a sense, frustrated and really looking to make plays after that inventive and kind of weird level 1 from CLG to pick up first blood.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That level 1 was one of those times where you do it and you're like, I don't know if that was worth it, because you had to level up weird abilities on multiple champions. You had to blow 2 flashes just for 1 kill. It was definitely a situation where you're kind of scratching your head as if this was actually going to pay off for anything.
Right, and the importance is that the 2 flashes used were Oh My God and Darshan, right? So Lyra looking to attack the exact flash that was dropped in Darshan. Darshan getting the outplay, though, on that turret dive. Definitely sent him off to the race.
That's the big thing, is that one play kind of not only got him ahead, but who he was able to come in and help as well. So this was just an over-aggressive play that Darshan played pretty well. You saw Lyra trying to basically predict the E out of Darshan, sent this cocoon along that path. It was just a little early, and then they didn't call the playoff after that, and Lyra didn't have a flash either. So even though you're trying to punish this flashless Camille, you don't really have the tools to punish it that well either. Seraph tries to save his teammate, ends up putting him in a bad position as well. So instead of just being a 1-for-0, now you have to worry about the extra kill coming in. And there you see, right away.
Flash is unnecessary, but still gets the kill.
Who he might not have known that Seraph blew his flash earlier.
So now, but now I want to talk about the junglers and how they matched up, because this is very important, right? Lyra did identify that he wanted to take advantage of the lack of flash from Darshan.
And it's important because if you look at traditionally how CLG was playing, whenever Darshan ends up on a carry like Camille, the entire team seems to kind of focus and tunnel around that. And you see with Dardoch on the team, 12% jungle proximity.
That's Dardoch's average over all games that he played with CLG. The number on the right that you're seeing for Oh My God is his top jungle proximity in this game in isolation. So spending less than half the time that Dardoch would normally spend near his top laner. So that means that Darshan was doing some serious work alone.
Right, and that's the thing, is if you come in with a game plan of, okay, whenever CLG's on a carry, they try and snowball him really hard, Dar duo, all that stuff has been built up over the course of the season.
Right.
Even though Omar God is the one stepping in, you still expect them to play around this hyper carry in a sense in Camille, and for the most part, they never did that, and they focused elsewhere on the map, and it did feel like Darshan on his own understood that he was in a different situation.
Right.
And he played back and more reserved than we're used to seeing a little bit, but it didn't feel like EnVy was aware that he was not going to be aggressive in the top side.
All right, so CLG gets some quick advantages early in the game. Of course, we did have a crazy 4-for-4 skirmish down in the bot lane, but once we moved into that mid-game portion, 13 minutes onward, we saw a lot of really slick plays out of CLG in terms of movement, right? This is where we can clearly see the difference in skill from team to team.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you sometimes look at lower tier teams, you see them get a pick off and a kill, and it's like, great, what else do we get? Well, CLG is taking objectives with a single kill in the mid lane. They're all grouped up, they 5-man force. Here, using Talia wall very intelligently against EnVy, able to force down this turret without even getting a single kill. And this is the kind of stuff that really separates great teams from middling level teams, because they don't need anything to really snowball that lead.
Right, exactly. EnVy is just as capable of getting that mid lane pick as CLG is, right? And, reverse the situations, I'm sure EnVy can, execute on that play. But will they have done it in a fashion where everyone else is collapsing on the lane in order to take advantage of the man advantage in the mid lane?
That's the thing, is getting everybody on the same page at the same time. The fact that your bot lane is roaming up while that's happening. The fact that Darshan's moving down with the advantage that he has and spreading it all over the map. That's one of the things you tend to see is, oh, I got a 3-0 Camille or something, but how many times is it actually spreading its influence over the map versus trying to consistently 1v1 the enemy top lane?
Absolutely. Player of the game going to Darshan on that Camille. It's great to see him stepping up into those carry roles that he was once known for. Fantastic play out of him here. Let's return to the jungle conversation, though, because this was Omar God's debut as the starter. Obviously, we've seen some games of evidence. How do you feel he played
It's a bit of a question mark just because it did feel like he was not super influential in the outcome of the game. It felt a lot like EnVy overforced at times, CLG punished appropriately, and then they did what CLG is known to do, which is group up and work together. But the tricky thing is that they have brought him in order to do that stuff better exactly. So it's a situation where it's like, yeah, the team looked really good. Omar got not so much, but he's brought in to be a team player.
That's what I was going to say. To me, it feels like he's slot into that role phenomenally where you're not... He's probably not going to pick up a ton of POGs, and that's totally okay. You've got some other playmakers on the team. Afromu, one of those playmaking champions. You've got Darshan looking at the carries in the top lane. Even Huhi at times has his breakout performances. We just need someone that's a rock in the jungle.
Exactly, and it felt like he was with his team at all points, never somewhere else, never over-forcing, and just letting the game kind of come naturally to CLG as they had an early game lead.
What does Lyra do differently here in Game 2 to take advantage of the rookie jungler?
It's a little bit of a question mark just because he picked Elise, early game champion, got set behind early on off some CLG aggression.
Double down on Moby Boots
That's
early.
exactly where I was going to go. Yeah, so he fails the dive in the top side, doubles down on Moby Boots. There's a crazy early game skirmish, but he's still pretty ineffective at this point. And you would like to see him take Elise because it's an early game champion, but just not fall prone to some of these mistakes in the early game.
When I want to see him attack Omar, not attack the laners, right? Let's see what happens if he spends his time in Omar's jungle as opposed to going for those top lane ganks that could be outplayed.
It's potentially a good idea just because we haven't seen him have to deal with this kind of pressure and communicating with his laners, come to me, versus the laners saying, come to us. And so you heard when CLG was talking about EnVy, they said if you attack Lyra in the jungle, the team's coming to back him up.
Right.
And you don't
Will
know...
CLG do the same thing?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, there's some thoughts on how EnVy, might be able to strike back here in Game 2. We're going to step away for a moment. When we return, it is that Game 2 between Counterlogic Gaming and Team EnVy. Don't touch that browser.